Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Concord Township Board of Trustee meeting for Wednesday, May 5th, 2021. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mrs. Dawson, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Lucci?
Present.
Mr. McIntosh?
Present.
Mr. Gondorfer?
Present.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 21st, 2021 regular trustee meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 21st, 2021 regular trustee meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Before we move on from the minutes, I'd like to take just a moment, double up my minutes there, to add something just in response to a concern that was raised last month, and as so much as it was in the minutes, regarding Concord Township having a lack of transparency with respect to the process regarding the owner's rep and that whole process. So I was a little upset and troubled by that conversation, so I went and did a little diligence and started looking at some things, and I just want to get some things stated on the record and make people aware that we have had 4 meetings where we've discussed this open in public. January 21st, we first mentioned the owner's rep and kicked around the idea of having it. On February 27th, we had a special work session following the regular trustee meeting in which we discussed the project, dialogue with administration and fire chief about the project, and we discussed the owner's rep. On March 3rd, the idea of the owner's rep or the RFQ package was presented by Administrator Rose. It was explained to us by him and the law director, and we did dialogue with the trustees, approved it, and we moved forward with that. The RFQ closed, and on April 7th, this board discussed the submissions and recommendations from the administration, from Administrator Rose, the fire department, and our engineer discussed who we would want to interview. We set up an interview list of 5 candidates. Those were named specifically, as well as the dates for those meetings were actually specifically mentioned. And then we held the properly notified public hearing, and I think we clarified why we didn't have public access to that. I also want to note that in addition to these live events that we're live on YouTube every day, we have been for a year, we're live on Facebook now. The YouTube channel also has a recording of all of our meetings, and something that we started in 2021 was the trustee focus topics, where we've actually cut out some of the meatier topics and left them there for the residents to access. You don't actually have to watch the hour meeting or whatever it may be. You can jump in, and in that case, we did have fire station updates and owner's rep conversations that are there for a quick view for any resident that wants to see them. And then finally, there was a conversation about the email, and I circled back with Chief Sable to discuss what that was about, because it wasn't familiar to me. And what was brought to my attention is that email dates back to 2017 and was a request of the architect just to keep something confidential that was their internal stuff. And obviously we didn't honor that request, because once a document is sent to the township, it becomes a public record, and upon the public records request, that document was made public. So the township actually did not make any effort to hide anything. So I just wanted to get that on the record, because we were accused of not being transparent, and I found the facts demonstrate we actually have been quite transparent. So before we move on, if the other trustees have anything they'd like to add or say, otherwise we can carry on.
No, I mean, I think very well spoken. I agree. I think we, have always maintained that we've been transparent and forthright in, what we're doing, especially in regards to the fire station. We've been open on the record, and have always, welcomed community input, questions, whatever. But we've been very open and transparent in this process, so we're going to continue that this evening also.
Yeah, I think anytime, we always tell people to call us anytime. Our numbers are out there. We're always available. So if there's ever any issues or questions, we're certainly there to, right on the dot. We can speak to them.
Okay, with that, we'll move into elected official reports, and we'll start off with fiscal officer Amy Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. As of April 30th, we were 33% of the way through the calendar year. Treasury balance for the 19 active funds within the Township Treasury was $7.3 million. Treasury balance includes $1.3 million in funds set aside for specific projects. Year-to-date expenditures were 18% of the amount appropriated, and revenue was at 29% received for 2021, so we are slightly behind budget in revenue. That will self-correct once we receive the bond proceeds after June. Speaking of bonds, we received our bond rating from Moody's last week after an interview in the middle of April, and I have many people to thank. We are a first-time issuer, and we received a rating of AA2, which is in the middle of the high-grade rating. This is important because the higher the rating, the lower the interest rate to our residents. I'm beyond pleased, so bear with me. First, I'd like to thank the residents and the trustees of Concord Township who supported the bond levy. Moody's acknowledged that this rating directly reflects our residents' support of this project and the fire stations. Mr. Chris Galloway, our Lake County Auditor, who got us in touch originally with PFM Financial Advisors. They are assisting us throughout this whole entire process. Mr. Ryan Callender, who in addition to being our bond counsel, spoke in the interview about how he felt to be a Concord Township resident most of his life. And Andy Rose, who was the principal narrator throughout the interview. It was truly a team effort, and I wish to thank everyone for their support. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call our office, 354-7516. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That bond rating was that was really nice.
It was a huge surprise.
Spectacular.
That's great.
So thank you to everybody on that. Was great. Moving along to trustees, Mrs. Lucci.
Yes, and Amy, thank you for that as well, for your work on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was able to attend the Eastern Lake County Chamber of Commerce meeting in Perry, where myself, along with Mr. Dondorfer, Mr. Rose, were able to update the county on the happenings in Concord, including not only our new businesses, Lucky's, we have an ice cream store, car wash, a manufacturing business, doctor's office, the WellFit business that opened, and as well as the various construction road projects. We did another Talk of the Township. I think it was our second one this year, and it went very well. Thank you to Deb and Rick, who are always behind the scenes to make sure that that runs well. And it was nice being in the township, the town hall over here with the backdrop of the kids playing baseball. So it was a super fun morning, so thank you for that. I attended the annual Lake County Township Association meeting with Mr. Rose, Mr. Brown, and Mrs. Dawson, where we met with the county engineer and his team, discussed some of the road construction as far as asphalt paving, the Cryo Road project, which we hope will happen in the next 3 to 4 weeks. They also mentioned other road resurfacing projects, including the Cherry Hill cul-de-sacs, Fay, Ravenna, and Palmer, Hazel Drive, Tulip Way. We also discussed some of the traffic studies that were completed, specifically Morley and Prouty Road, and I think we're going to get updated on that later. Amy Dawson and I attended the Arbor Day event where we blessed the new Adirondack flowering crab tree at Concord Hills Park. I said that very nicely. Yes.
Impressive.
Thank you to Klein Nurseries for donating the tree, and it was very well attended. We had about, 15, 20 members from the garden club. Yep. And I did not know there are over like 60 members of our garden club here, which is a pretty good number. So thanks to the service team, their service department for planting the tree. Our arborist was there, so we just beat the rain. It was, like 60 degrees, and then all of a sudden it was like a downpour. So it was a great day. I have been very busy researching, doing reference checking for our owners reps. I've had conversations with Mr. Poyer regarding possible pickleball fields, and we are talking about where those are, where good locations would be. And I thank him for bringing this up to our community. I think it would be something that I think people will enjoy. You can tell people are getting out. I think people that are vaccinated are coming out because they're still asking what's going on in the old riders. So I'm still taking calls about, Lucky's, and that's great. I continue to hear feedback from some of our residents regarding street safety, some speeding in our developments, our ATVs, dirt bikes, the issues surrounding that. I think, we do need to make sure we follow those regulations, and remember to slow down when kids are out, people are walking, so there's still some issues in some neighborhoods with that. I had some discussions with residents regarding some planned unit development along Girdle and Orchard. And I want to thank my fellow nurses. Tomorrow is actually National Nurses Day, and we actually have a whole week. And the team of nurses that I get to work with every day are phenomenal, so I thank them, and I thank nurses everywhere for their service. And last, I want to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. Probably the best gift I've ever received is being a mother. I have 5 beautiful girls. I have a wonderful mother and other mothers in my life, and so I hope everyone has a great Mother's Day. And that ends my report.
You are busy.
Pretty thorough.
There's a lot going on with you this month. No, it's been busy for all of us.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
I mean, we have a lot going on in Concord Township. As far as some of the updates I have, I attended the Eastern Chamber of Commerce meeting with Mrs. Lucci, and we had a great update that we gave about status in Concord Township. Obviously, Lucky's is the hot spot, and I drove by there the other day. A lot going on there, a lot of demo inside, and things are moving along well. Gave the road updates on some of the township road projects, the county road projects, and state projects going on in Lake County. Those are all apparently on time right now. We're going to make sure that we keep those on time, especially the Cryle Road widening. I did have some calls regarding some traffic safety concerns that we continue to update the residents with. The biggest one, I did get another call from a resident who lives in the area of Morley and Proudery regarding the traffic signal. That traffic signal is going to be replaced. It's been approved. My understanding is there's going to be underground work and pole foundation that's going to commence here shortly for that. There is some delay in some of the materials as far as the signal, so it looks like the completion date will be around fall for that traffic signal, and that's well overdue. I mean, I know just from that area, there's been some serious and significant accidents there. The new signal will involve a left turn signal for both directions on Proudy Road, where that crest in the hill is. So hopefully that'll mitigate a lot of the risk at that intersection and alleviate accidents in the future. So we're happy about that.
Is that going to be left only on a light then?
There'll be a left. My understanding is, as far as the transition, it'll start with vehicles that are southeast on Proudy Road will get a left signal, green signal first, okay, and then they will be followed by a left signal for traffic the other way coming northbound, and then the signals will transition to Morley North, Morley South, and then Pine Hill.
Okay. Correct.
Okay.
So it'll be-
Is that correct, Mr.
Correct.
Okay, so that should alleviate or mitigate a lot of that risk there. We also followed up with the traffic concern regarding the speed limit on Girdle Road, and I know from our contacts at the Lake County Engineers Office, that study has been completed, and according to the Engineers Office, no changes were warranted there, so we'll continue to monitor that. We do continue to get several calls regarding mini bikes and go-karts operating in specific neighborhoods, disobeying traffic control devices and things of that nature. I'm sure our lieutenant here, Lieutenant Rako, might be able to give us some more insight, or guidance. But as far as where those are allowed and where they're not, ATVs are allowed under certain parameters, but the go-karts and mini bikes are not. So we're working with Sergeant Infalvi from the Sheriff's Department, who's the community resource liaison, and trying to mitigate those issues over there. Still getting some calls as far as target shooting. Just a reminder, target shooting is permitted in the township. Just please be responsible and do so safely, especially as there's more developments and things of that nature in more densely populated areas. You really need to be cautious and make sure you have an appropriate backstop and that you're target shooting safely. I did talk to a resident about the pickleball court, like you did, Mrs. Lucci. I think it would be good for the community. There seems to be a lot of pros or feedback that were for the pickleball court, so we'll continue to look into that. And outside of that, I know we are gonna address this in new business, but I did a considerable amount of work, regarding follow-up, with the, RFQs for the owner's rep, so we'll get into that in a little bit, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Undervoort. I will, I had some of the same concerns or requests, dirt bikes, I got that email as well, and I also spoke with the resident about the pickleball court, so kind of doubling up there. I know we've all spoken with that. I did feel the request specifically in my neighborhood about speeding, and I did also make a request of Sergeant Falvey for some extra patrol, I guess, post school let out. The teenagers are whipping through the neighborhood, so we're working on that. I also had questions about Stone Ridge Estates, and that's the development, it's the final phase that's going in off Girdle Road, and there was some question about landscaping and RCD and as far as clearing, so we're looking into that. I did have a developer contact me and ask about the township's position regarding the Quail Hollow Hotel. So I don't know how hot that interest is, but somebody did call and say, hey, we're looking at that and some people. So now that it's for sale, I did have that conversation. I also have spent a fair bit of time making some phone calls in respect to the owner's rep, and I unfortunately missed the Arbor Day celebration because I was traveling home to see my mother who lives out of state, and I haven't seen her for a year, so that was my pre-Mother's Day adventure, and I actually missed missing Arbor Day. So I guess that concludes my remarks. We'll get into the owner's rep conversation, so we will move on into department reports and Administrator Rose.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh, members of the board, Mrs. Dawson, members of the audience here and virtually, good evening. On tonight's agenda, there's a couple things I'd like to cover. Item H, that is a vote recommending a name change. What we all know as Old Cryle Road.
They're a wrong letter.
Aye.
I'm sorry?
Aye.
Aye.
Not H. H is your cemetery, yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, what we know as Old Cryle Road is actually the original Cryle Road. And because the commissioners are getting ready to vote on the dedication plats for that and that section of Capitol, they require a request to the county to change the name. So the commissioners have this on their agenda for tomorrow, so I'm encouraging a favorable vote just to make it official as Old Cryle Road. It's already got the Old Cryle Road sign up, so I think that's simple. There's also a vote to grant permission to advertise for bids to resurface the township parking lots, and that also includes a installation of a short asphalt access road to the 1965 section of the cemetery that's being expanded to add some full burial plots. And then I also have a vote which would authorize me to coordinate and complete paperwork with First Energy and CEI to begin the process of converting our street lights to LED. That program converts the street lights to LED as they burn out. It's not a come in and swap it out, but if you make arrangements and fill out the appropriate paperwork, as they burn out, they will convert them to LED, and there's no cost for that. So that's very attractive. And then over a period of time, several years, they would all end up as LED lighting. So that's going on. Brightwood Lake dam removal is moving along. I received an update today. They're waiting for some environmental covenants to be completed. The latest tentative schedule that I received today is the lake being drained later this summer. Dam removal will start in the fall of this year, and then they'll do the creek stream restoration back to the original Kellogg Creek in 2022. So that's what I know there. Resurfacing of State Route 608, we've talked about this from Ravenna Road down to the county line. That's been pushed back a week to May 17th. There's a water line repair that they need to make in the vicinity of 608 and Nancy Ann. And so they want to get that done so that they're completely out of the way of the repaving crew. So they're going to work on that water line repair first, and then they'll begin the resurfacing. Now they're telling us May 17th instead of May 10th. Thank you to the law director. I have received the draft of the trash contract bid document with all of his wonderful comments. I'm going through those changes and then I'll reconcile with the law director. I expect to have that to you before the end of the month for your review, along with my recommendations, so that we can continue to move forward. And just as a reminder, that bid document includes trash, bulk pickup once a month, yard waste, and recycle, curbside, on all public street dwellings. Finally, on May 31st, 2021 at 9 a.m., Concord Township will be conducting a brief Memorial Day service at the Concord Cemetery on State Route 608. It's a wonderful opportunity to honor and pay tribute to the veterans that are buried and resting in our cemeteries, and remember loved ones that have gone before us. So you can visit our website for additional information on that. Karen Warner is taking the lead, and she'll be putting the information on the website. And that concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Fire Department, Chief Sabo.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Tonight I want to start with just a little message. Yesterday, May 4th, was International Firefighters Day. So we ask you to please remember, not just today, but every day, the firefighters who have died while serving their communities and dedicated their lives to protecting the safety of us all. Tonight, we especially keep in mind the family, friends, and members of the Nelsonville, Ohio Division of Fire as they mourn the loss of firefighter Jeff Arms, who collapsed and died at the scene of a structure fire on Sunday, May 2nd. We also want to keep in our prayers in Lake County. Over the last month, we lost two firefighters, very good men. And their families are in our thoughts and in our prayers. So, for the month of April, we had a total of 214 incidents. We had 137 EMS events with 106 transports. We had 3 fire events, 1 vehicle fire, 1 woods fire inside of Concord, and 1 kitchen fire outside of Concord. We gave mutual aid 13 times, received mutual aid 6 times. Our Fire Prevention Bureau completed 49 inspections, accounting for about 72 hours. They've completed 7 plan reviews, accounting for about 14 hours, and used about 10 hours for continuing education and training. The warm weather is upon us, so the inspectors will be working with duty crews inside of our businesses, providing walkthroughs for familiarization and continuing education on the fire protection and detection system. So our fire inspectors bring the duty crew into a business and give them a familiarization of the building and the fire protection systems inside that building. Sometimes we see rooms rearranged or remodeled, so it gives us a good refamiliarization with those buildings. Lastly, I want to thank Administrative Assistant Karen Pierce, Deputy Chief Ron Terriaco. Today is his birthday, by the way. And many of the men of the fire department. Tonight I'm going to present you with the 2020 annual report of the Concord Township Fire Department. And this is their chance to really highlight the work that they do for the previous year and the efforts that they put forth in putting together a fine professional fire department for you. So it's my pleasure to turn this over to you, Mr. McIntosh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That annual report will be posted by the end of the week on our website, Facebook page, and we'll make sure we email you each individually as you requested, so. Thank you very much. You have any other questions?
Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, Service Director Tim Brown.
Good evening, everyone. The 2021 road resurfacing projects are about to begin. Fay Road, Cherry Hill subdivision. They're part of the Concord Township and Painesville Township joint resurfacing projects. Residents are going to start to see contractors mobilizing. I think the weather's pushed them back a little bit. They were supposed to start mobilizing signage and everything the 26th of April, but due to the weather we've had, I think it's pushed them back a little bit. I haven't got any confirmation on a start date, but we're watching it every day to see what happens. The Lake County engineers, they'll be resurfacing Girdle Road from Auburn Road to Hermitage Road, and then the Cryle Road widening project. That's scheduled to start sometime in June. We're still waiting on a pre-con meeting there. Hopefully we'll hear something by the end of next week on that. As Mr. Rose stated, the state of Ohio is going to be resurfacing 608, and that's been pushed back to the 17th. And that water repair is actually going to take place tomorrow. I got confirmation from Painesville City Water. They're going to be out tomorrow morning to excavate that and make the repair to the leaking T. Service department crews are out performing road maintenance and repairs, ditch maintenance, stormwater projects, and prepping the baseball fields for the baseball players. With grant funds provided by NOPEC, the service department took delivery of a 60 kW backup generator to power the service department in the event of a power outage. A lighting upgrade was also completed at the service department in all of our buildings and exterior. All lights were converted to LED lighting. The yard waste drop-off is currently available to the service department Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 2:30 p.m. Yard waste drop-off will close on June 7th and will reopen in the fall. Saturday, May 15th and Saturday, May 22nd, the service department will host the annual brush day collection from 7:30 to 2:30 p.m. Residents can drop off brush and tree limbs up to 4 inches in diameter to the service department yard. No lumber, railroad ties, landscape timbers, or tree stumps are permitted. The service department's gates will close at 2:30 on each day. The service department reminds residents to call us with any questions or concerns at 440-350-3225 or by email at concordtwp.com. And all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. Anybody have any questions for anything?
So thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Mrs. Heather Freeman for Zoning Department. Good evening.
Okay. So during the month of April, we've been pretty busy in the zoning office. A lot of calls and inquiries from residents about various projects, people planning pools and sheds and things like that. We issued 55 zoning permit applications and collected over $7,000 in fees. Additionally, we performed 73 site inspections for open zoning permits and followed up on 18 new complaints about potential zoning violations. Last night, the Zoning Commission met at Town Hall for our regular meeting. We continued the work session that they've been having about potential changes to the RCD text, and also they started looking at outside dining and looking at some of the requirements for that. They also initiated a zoning text amendment for the micro distilleries and microbreweries that they had been holding a couple work sessions on. So they set a public hearing to take place at their June 1st meeting at 7 p.m. Next week, the Board of Zoning Appeals will meet on Wednesday, and we have 2 new variance requests. So that's about it. If there's any other questions.
I know that you've been working on the RCD
Yes.
language for a bit, and I actually did have one of the developers reach out to me and just shared the input that you received. Where are you all in that process? I didn't have a chance to listen in or see where the meetings have been. I was just curious.
Sure. So after our April meeting, the board decided it would be a good idea to send the draft language out to some of the developers and builders in the community. We sent it out to about 6-7 folks. We heard back from 2 builders. that had some specific concerns about some of the issues, some of the proposed changes that they were looking at. So the zoning commission went through them individually, one by one last night, and did decide to make some modifications. They took some things out. They decided that maybe these aren't good ideas. They kept some things in that they felt strongly about. There was one item that we were looking for a little bit more clarification on, and that had to do with the restoration plan that they are proposing to be required. So assuming somebody, for example, if someone were to present an RCD project that included property that was a farm, and those farm fields were going to be part of the open space, the new language would have required them to submit a restoration plan on how they were going to restore that. And so I think there were some questions from some of the development community about, what is that? What specifically are you looking for? Are you looking for us to restore those back to meadows or forests, or looking for a little bit more guidance? So the board has asked us to circle back with Lake County Soil and Water, who I believe was part of that when we adopted that as part of the comp plan update in 2015, and see if they can assist us on that. And then I'm not sure where they're going to be at next month, if they'll be ready to move forward or not.
So still a bit out for a public hearing on that.
Yes, yeah, they're not.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll be busy at the June meeting as well. So, yeah.
Anything else? No. Thank you.
Okay, sure, thanks.
It's time for recreation, Deborah.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening. As we head into the marvelous month of May and welcome warmer weather and beautiful blooms, we invite our residents to stop and smell the roses and take time out for a leisure class or a senior social. So here's what we've got going on in the month of May. Rick, PowerPoint, please. Thank you. Alrighty. This month, classes at the Community Center focus on the mind and body connection as we offer martial arts for adults and children, pound, yoga pilates fusion, gentle yoga, tai chi, baton twirling for kids, and local artist Marie Kozan is back with a creative mosaic flower pot class where you can bring your own special tiles or use tiles from her beautiful collection. Register for classes online at concordtwp.com or just call the Recreation Department for assistance. And Susie Cobb, who is our class registration expert, can get you signed up in minutes. Earlier this afternoon, a small group of seniors gathered at the community center to create these beautiful, really cool flower monograms. Senior social coordinator Rachel Lamb led the group in creating blooming keepsakes perfect for the front door, and they were gorgeous. There's pictures of them on the recreation page for senior socials. On Wednesday, May 19th, Concord Township Fire Inspector Doug Rout will present fire safety tips and discuss what you can do to keep your home and family safe. His presentation begins at 1 p.m. at the community center. Pre-registration is required for our senior socials. Just call us and we can help you. The community center will host another Red Cross blood drive on Thursday, May 6th, tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's a few appointments still available, so please consider signing up at redcrossblood.org. And just remember, if you've received a COVID vaccine, you'll need to disclose the manufacturer of your dose to the technicians. And here we go. This year, we welcome our summer with open arms and some really great music. Our summer concert series is back with 8 nights of music on Thursday evenings from June 17th to August 5th. The series kicks off with 60s girl group that everybody loves, the Pop-Tarts, followed by Hip to That, a band that's new to our lineup. They play swingin' jazz and oldies tune that everybody knows, and they know the words by heart. July bands include Blue Evolution, Abbey Rodeo, Blackjack Gypsies, Risk Factor, and the Woodpeckers. And then we wrap up the series with a very festive DJ karaoke night on August 5th that'll include special awards like for Citizen of the Year and our annual scholarships, family activities, food trucks, and it's a night you just don't want to miss. Look for more information on our summer concert series on our website, monthly e-grapevines, and all over social media. Help us spread the word. We're currently accepting nomination for Concord Township Citizens of the Year for 2021. In order to be nominated for Citizen of the Year, you must be a current Concord Township resident, have contributed to the enhancement of our township, The Citizen of the Year is more than just a distinguished title. They're also involved in lots of community events such as the Easter egg hunt, the Halloween hunt. They flip the switch to light the holiday tree in December. And names of all the Citizens of the Year are commemorated in a plaque showcased in the hallways of the community center. And they're really forever recorded in township history and celebrated, especially through the bicentennial year next year. Deadline for nomination for submission is Friday, July 9th. Contact the Recreation Department with any questions. And along with Citizen of the Year, we're also taking applications for our scholarship awards. Sponsored by a generous donation from Lake Health, this year we're offering 2 scholarship awards in the amount of $1,000 each. Applicants must be a current Concord Township resident and a graduating high school senior in the class of 2021. The scholarships are not only academically based, they're kind of more based in part on the applicant's involvement in community, especially in community service and in their school. So there's a lot that goes into factoring the winners. The deadline for application submission is Friday, July 9th. And again, contact the Recreation Department with any questions or for assistance. And you've read about it in the grapevine, newsletters, our social media platforms, and now we're shouting it from the rooftops, and you'll be hearing it from now on out. Concord Township will celebrate our bicentennial in 2022. The celebratory planning is already underway, and we are seeking businesses and organizations interested in partnering with us to sponsor events and activities. We invite them to join the momentum and lock in their sponsorships early. This way, if they lock in a sponsorship now, they can actually select the event that they want to sponsor. Or we also welcome general sponsorships as well. All the information can be found on our website, or again, just contact the Recreation Department and we will walk you through the process. And lastly, the Recreation Department wishes all moms a very happy Mother's Day. Who needs superheroes when we've got our moms? And I'd like to echo Chief's happy birthday to Fire Chief Ron Terriaco. He's been, that's good.
He's gonna enjoy that.
That's good.
Awesome.
I like that. He's been such, the whole fire department has been so much supportive of the Recreation Department and has helped us in so many ways. He brings his best every day, and so we wish him the best on his birthday. So thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you,
Thank you, Deborah.
Thanks.
Okay, and Concord Law Enforcement, tonight we have Lieutenant Rako, new face to me. I know Carl probably not so much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the month of April, the Lake County Sheriff's Office handled a total of 846 calls for service. 9 of those were injury accidents. 2 of those were property damage accidents. 4 individuals were arrested for driving under the influence. Of those, 1 of those also was arrested for the possession of narcotics, which was ecstasy. There was another drug arrest for an individual with the possession of meth. There were 4 domestic violence arrests, 4 disorderly conduct arrests, Burgers to Beer, Holiday Inn, Tri-Point Hospital, and Panini's. The Sheriff's Office also responded to 51 alarm activations at residences or businesses, issued 15 citations, 88 traffic warnings, 5 driving under suspension citations. They completed a total of 93 business checks, getting out, talking to business owners, or at nighttime checking businesses to make sure they're all secured. They completed 63 crime prevention incidences as well. They had 2 assault reports, couple ATV complaints. I know it's been a topic. There were 3, Ashwood Trail, Sarah Lee, and Barchester. And some noise complaints, shots fired over on Girdle, Johnny Cake Ridge, 608, and Camden Crossing in the Morley area. And there were 12 theft reports throughout the township.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the audience portion of the evening. I'll start off first with anybody that's here in person. Okay, seeing nobody in person that has anything for the trustees, I will go to the online and if there's anybody there. Okay, and seeing no audience participation, we'll close out that. Moving on to old business, we have none. So next is the new business, and we're starting off with a conversation about our owner's rep. So just to recap, I'm sure we don't need to do this at length. We've been discussing owner's rep for a while now, dating back to January. We had talked last month about wanting some more time to do a little bit of diligence, and I know we've all done that. So I think what we want to do is open it up to some dialogue here. I know we've all got different reports to make as far as, and thinking maybe some of us might have unintentionally overlapped each other. Kind of got that impression the last day or two. But anyway, so Carl, anything you guys want to start anything?
Sure, I can start. So when we originally looked at the 10 RFQs, I had 5 that I was particularly interested in. I believe we interviewed all 5. And when I first looked at just the RFQs, I sort of had them ranked. After we did the interviews, my ranking changed. And then after doing more research and checking references, my ranking changed again. So I actually feel pretty confident in my top ranking.
Okay.
Yeah, let me start out by, I think it's important to reiterate this, for those that haven't been following this, as far as this owner's rep selection, this board collectively understands that this is very important to the success of this project, and we all have done an extreme amount of work to make sure that we protect the interests of the township and we make the right selection for this project. So with that, I've done a lot of work since our last meeting. I finally feel like I'm on solid ground as far as being able to identify with some firms that I think would be viable options for us to select. And with that, I'll get into a few of my selections and what I thought was good with them. And when I checked, what I did for more diligence is I reached out and checked references from some of these firms that I sort of resonated with from the interview process. And you know how it goes with references, and most people list references that they believe are going to be beneficial to them, right? Paint them in a good light. So I did have the ability to reach out to some people that I know in the industry that weren't listed as references that had experience with some of these firms to sort of get another viewpoint. So with that, I thought that Manick and Smith and CT would be a viable option as an owner's rep. From the people that I had the opportunity to speak with, they have expansive project management experience, not only in the private sector, but in the public sector. They do a lot of work in Lake County. They're doing some big projects in Lake County right now. One of those projects is the emergency response or tactical vehicle garage complex.
The bomb squad.
Yeah,
bomb
right,
squad,
and SWAT, things of that nature that I've worked with over off of 306 behind the fire station. So I had some conversations there. The project is going well. They've had some delays with weather, however, it's been on budget. There's a lot of boots on the ground as far as CT being there and oversight and having some long-lasting relationships with construction or tradespeople in the county. Some of the other notes that I took from individuals I spoke with, one was interesting that a local project resulted in one firm having to be released from the project, and they brought Manick and Smith and CT in mid-project because they had some problems. And it went smoothly after that. Manick and Smith and CT mitigated the problems that they had and wound up closing up the project on budget, which I thought was sort of interesting, being brought into the middle of a project like that. They were apparently under budget on the projects that I had spoken with and had dialogue with from certain individuals. They have a great scope of knowledge of the business in the industry as far as project management, and the individuals that I spoke with were both listed and not listed as references, indicated they wouldn't hesitate to hire them. Do have a couple more if you want me to continue.
Well,
I'll let you.
yeah,
maybe
I'll throw some-
maybe throw in some thoughts.
So, I think I looked at all of the firms, and as I said, I thought we had some nice proposals. 10. I came to the meeting with a few that I liked, and we talked about it and expanded our list to 5. We interviewed 5, and in interviewing 5, I thought we had strong qualifications with all of them. My goal was to find a firm that fit with Concord Township, and I think when I think about it in a couple different things, I think we have to find a body or a group of people that we're comfortable dialoguing with, where there had to be, I think, some synergy of sound mind and just similar philosophy. But the other thing is, I took a look at the assets that we have as far as the township, who the board is, who we have here in the township, and who our architect is, and thinking, so one of the things I noticed is that, we didn't select LeMay Erickson, but we have a top architect. I mean, they're one of the top in the country. And so I look at that and say, oh, what are they bringing to the table? And I actually called LeMay to discuss this with them. I know it wasn't their first choice that we go ahead and do this, but I felt it was important to get their perspective. I also talked with Bob Parker and really got into the idea of the trades and sort of understand that. So I would say, kind of like Mrs. Lucci, through the process, my focus and ideas shifted and evolved as we got through this, and I learned more things that I didn't know about owners reps and what they do, and didn't know about these firms. So what I ended up seeing is people that had different strengths. I really looked at the firms and said, where is their core competency? What do they do? I liked CT Manic Smith. I mean, they seem to be pretty broad. I liked RFC. They seemed to be the one that had the strongest focus on owners rep. In fact, their presentation and their examples were almost exclusively owners rep examples, I believe, whereas everybody else had some design builds, some construction management, and while that's not what we're asking them to do. So there was that. I liked from an interview process, Cold Harbor, and I know they've got some around here. They've had some really glowing responses. So I think those are the kind of the ones that stood out for me, and I looked at other firms that had some bells and whistles, but again, I didn't want to bring another firm that was too much like LeMay Erickson to the table, and I not that I thought that was necessarily a bad thing, but why double up on something you're already deep in? This was kind of where I settled out. So I don't know if there's.
Yeah, I agree. I liked CT and Manikin Smith. I did some reference checking on them, and good reviews. Some of the things I heard was that they were, they took a hard look at costs. They were tough negotiators, and obviously, budget's very important, and we want people that can, that know people and know the people in the business and are good at negotiating prices for us. I also liked RFC. When I went kind of back and looked at some of the qualifications, I like the fact that they had a heavy experience in owner's rep in a lot of the same type of work that we're looking for as far as fire stations. Their references were amazing. Yeah. Amazing references. And in fact, I think, when I called, the person I talked to said, "Oh, I already talked to MM and someone else," and I thought, okay, so this person's probably going to be like, "Oh, I don't want to go through this again," but was like, "I will tell you anything you want to know," and spent 40 minutes on the phone with me. So I was very pleased with their references. I also like QCI. I was impressed with their project manager and got really good references from them as well. And then I think about who would work best with our team. So I think between the three, those would be kind of my top 3.
Yeah, I also like Cold Harbor, local outfit, a little bit more smaller. I did talk to several references, some that were listed again, some that were not. The same theme came up with them. They're very meticulous, attention to detail. They're people with great integrity. They're local, they're in the community. They always had boots on the ground. They were out there every day making sure that the project was moving forward appropriately and on budget and on schedule. They did well with managing change orders. I like the fact that they're local. They do did a lot of project management in the area, including Concord Township. They're doing a lot at Auburn Career Center. They've done a lot there in the past. They're doing a lot there in the future. I was a little apprehensive as far as, the scope of this project because they really didn't have the fire station experience. And I think there's going to be some challenges during the interview process. One of the questions was about risk. And, some of that risk is going to be, the lead time on materials and things of that nature to keep this project on schedule. So some of that lack of experience concerned me. I have to be honest with you. I really, after doing a lot of legwork, I was really impressed with RFC. I talked with a stakeholder in a project there that was a $100 million project that could not give them enough accolades. They said that Roger Riachi from RFC this individual, they had this board of trustees had limited experience or expertise in this type of project, and quoting them, said it was a phenomenal experience working with RFC. It was $100 million budget. Initially, they got a lot of feedback from contractors stating that there would be multiple cost overruns on different building sites. And after RFC coming in to mitigate those situations, they really had no cost overruns or any change orders in a $100 million project that came in under budget.
Yeah.
They did indicate that RFC was very good with established relationships with the trades and the contractors. They know these people. They have great communication skills. They were always very prepared to address the stakeholders in the project, be it the trustees or the community or board or whatever. They were very good with that. What sort of struck me from this individual's description of working with RFC is that they described it as a great group, a great firm that made the entire process enjoyable. They weren't stressed out. They actually enjoyed going through the project because RFC made it so comfortable from them, just from their experience. They have 25 years in the business, 15 years specifically on owner's representation. And what I do like stands out, at least for me, for RFC, is that, and I think it's critical in this project, is they have the fire station experience. They do. And I've been in their buildings, Strongsville Fire Department, Strongsville Police Department, which is a remodel, their schools, Willoughby Fire Department. They have the experience that I think is going to be needed in a multi-phase project like this, and the scope of this project, and the challenges that this project brings during this time that we're in.
I think I had, in my conversations with Bob Parker and with LeMay, I wanted to start there so I had a good understanding from this side before we go into the firms, because, we'd interviewed the firms. And so I went there, and one of the things that became clear to me that would be important is somebody that doesn't come in and micromanage. One of the things I heard was, in a couple of the examples we were given, when I circle back, I ask questions like, are you going to come in and tell a contractor how you'd solve the problem if they were behind? Or some of these guys do both. And so I recircled back and actually re-interviewed some of the firms and asked them questions about that. So what is your process? And when I reached back out to RFC, I actually was talking to that project guy, Ryan, and then Roger called him in and they hopped on a call, and I ended up in an impromptu conference call with them. And I went back to my notes because they reiterated something they had said in their interview, is that we're not here to re-engineer the project. They talked about, when we asked them about value engineering in the interview, right, they said, a lot of that's done. And the thing that I got through the process is that value engineering may come into play as we deal with the supply chain deal. Right. And I think, we look at materials, and somebody said they had re-engineered a roof, and to do with the fact that they couldn't get something. And I think I'm more comfortable with the idea that we're going to do this, because I think we're seeing things, and I know in my manufacturing world, it's upside down with materials and labor right now. And I think this being so specialized, I think the owner's rep is good. I think it's good that we're doing this, because it's not just construction, but it's construction in unusual times. You know, there's a lot of dynamics going on, and I'm pivoting every day with manufacturing and supply chains, and that makes me concerned. So I think having somebody like that on our side is important. And what I liked about RFC is, like, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. We're here to stay out of the way. I had folks say, hey, there was a project that was a mess. They came in and fixed it up. I got a different referral, I think, there. I liked that. I did like the fact that I think in their interview, Cold Harbor had brought that up, that they, when they did the Tri-C project and they ended up with it, that was huge. I don't remember the dollar amount, but they had also done that. But when I step back and look at the 5, I think, you know, RFC sort of stands out to me. But again, I liked Manic.
Like I said, I think we got some great, at least on my rating, I got 3 great viable candidates as for owners rep.
And I think, I think it's important to remember too, and I've been going back to the process in this, because this was a request for qualifications and we're not dealing with that. We need to be cognizant of the fact that we may not be wanting to pick just one. We might want to have an idea of succession. If we get into a process with somebody and it sort of doesn't work out, we're going to have to change gears and go to someone, and we're going to have construction print soon, and we probably don't want to hinder that process. I think with materials going, we might at least want to get this person on board so they can advise, do we really need to race into getting this to stay ahead of costs, or do we want to, they're going to know better how to work this market. So I think as we come to a decision, we probably need to consider contingent choices as well as a primary.
And one other thing that stood out for me for RFC is, the individuals that I spoke with, there was a constant theme that resonated, and it was, they indicated that you won't find a stronger owner's rep who will protect the interests of your community. And I think that's, what we talked about since the beginning of this project is we need somebody that really focuses on that. It's one of the primary responsibilities of an owner's rep. So that, I really like RFC.
So along the lines of what you're just mentioning, I guess, what is it, so we pick one, and then if there's, if there's someone that, how does that negotiation work if it's not, the price isn't what we want, then how, what are the terms as far as picking someone else, or?
Well, the initial step was the RFQ in that. So theoretically, and that we probably need to synchronize this, but generally, you then send out RFPs, requests for proposals, and then they present in accordance with the specifications their proposal along with the costs in that, which is obviously a significant factor. I realize the board's well aware of that. It's also a factor, for the residents in that. So, to me, I don't know how you could, make a decision without having all the facts, which includes the monetary amount that they're willing to throw on the table on that, which would be part of the I'm bandying around these terms, RFP, RFQ, and that, but the RFP where they would submit proposals, and generally, you set out your specifications to them and say that, we'd like you to present your proposal and costs and everything else. And that should weigh in on the process then.
So do they need to vote on who they want to send the RFP out to? And do they only pick one firm, or can they pick multiple firms?
They can, well, you want to send out, at least initially, just one. Okay. And then see what their cost is on that, and you're not locking yourself into that because, if it's some, let's say in a hypothetical sense, it's astronomically high in that, and way beyond what you even had any idea would be the actual presented cost in that, you don't have to take it.
Okay. So then the way we should approach this would be really to singularly focus on pushing one out, and then the trustees in their mind should probably have backups, but we can as a group table subsequent selections at this point, focus primary making one choice.
Right, and keep in mind too, you haven't entered into any contract by doing this process. This is basically, here's our request, they provide, what they're gonna do in terms of the service and the requirements, and you're not committing to it one way or the other,
So you should have a motion and a second to send the RFP out to.
Authorizing, I
Authorizing
guess it would be the
Rose.
administrator to send a RFP together with the appropriate information to whomever you wish to send it to, which I don't know, but, so. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Lucas. Okay, so continuing along discussion, I guess, do we want to continue? Is there any other thoughts anyone wants to share as far as firms?
Well, RFC is my number one choice.
Okay.
Like I said, the references were incredible. I heard words like invaluable and, like Carl said, great communicators. I spoke with Mr. Riachi as well. I think they're all very good firms. I think we would probably do fine with any of the top three. Right. But if I had to choose one, I would pick RFC.
I think that's an important, I'm glad that I'm not the only one that feels that we've got a lot of good choices here as far as firms go, because I do think there's a lot of qualified groups here and there's a lot of different ways you could go. So this is, again, I think about fit and what's being brought to the table. And I think it represents the most complete. I agree their references were compelling, and the stories that were recounted to me about personal dedication and things that they just sort of did out of the kindness in their heart, but just did that they weren't expected, but said, hey, they came in and even helped us with this other thing, but they didn't ask for help on.
Right.
That resonated with me,
Yes.
so I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, as am I. I think, I was very, like Amy said, all three of these firms, I think, are viable candidates to provide owner's rep services, and they're all excellent. But, RFC did stand out with me. I felt a connection, I guess you could say, there with that firm, and the follow-up that I did additionally, I think clearly puts them in a position where I think they'd be the best candidate for this project.
Okay.
I liked one of the references said the calmest guy in the room was the CEO.
Yep.
It's such those kind of negotiations and that kind of atmosphere can be tense, and when you're the calmest guy in the room and you're the owner's rep, that gives me a lot of confidence.
Okay. Well, I think with that, then I will entertain a motion to move this process along. So it would be a motion to proceed to request a proposal to authorize the administrator to request a proposal to RFC.
I move that we authorize our administrator to request an RFP to the RFC contracting group for owner's rep.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. So that concludes the owner's rep conversation. So the next item on the agenda is a vote for the April financial report.
I'll make a motion to approve the April financial report.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just prior to the meeting, item C, I did receive a request from the applicant to table that. So we will not be voting on that this evening. So we'll move along to item D.
I move that we vote for Service Department seasonal employee Aiden Sweeney at $11 per hour effective 6/7/2021 through August 27th, 2021, pending completion of paperwork.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to vote returning Service Department seasonal employee Brandon Sweeney at $12 per hour effective 5/10/21 through 8/27/21, pending completion of paperwork.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I vote to approve Service Department seasonal employee Caleb Davis at $11 per hour effective 6/14/21 through 8/27/21, pending completion of paperwork.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve Service Department seasonal employee Brandon Thomas at $11 per hour effective 5/10/21 through 8/27/21, pending completion of paperwork.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move to vote for Cemetery Department PO to Accurate Landscaping and Supply in the amount of $12,739.16 for excavating work in the 1965 section for expansion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion for recommendation to Lake County Commissioners to rename the original Cryo Road to Old Cryo Road.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to vote for permission to advertise for parking lot resurfacing.
Second.
Much needed. All in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, I'll vote to authorize the Township Administrator to coordinate and sign paperwork with First Energy Corp. To convert streetlights to LED.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and finally on the agenda, future meetings and announcements. Amy Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. On May 12th at 7 p.m. will be a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting here at Town Hall. On May 19th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Trustees office hours in the conference room, and at 7:30 p.m. Trustee meeting here at Town Hall. And I just want to wish all the moms out there Happy Mother's Day this weekend.
Yes, happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
Happy Mother's Day and
Happy Nurses Day tomorrow.
Happy Nurses Day.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
we're gonna be here all night. All right, and with that, I'd just like to thank everyone for a great meeting this evening, and
Yes,
good
thank you.
work on all this.
Thank you.
And with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.